In front of us is Kin Yun. The guy declares himself to be a useless person, and this is his last dinner. Previously, he was a hereditary prince and towered over thousands, and his abilities were the coolest. But one day when his mother returned home, life literally changed. Skeletons of people were kept in his castle, and all this was done by his mother. She forced the guy to sign the contract. Thus, the guy was put in a bad position. For many years they kept him captive, but did not touch him because they needed something from him. Kin Yun was sure that he would never be killed. And here is the last dinner of our hero Kin. No one liked. Everyone just wanted to take away the strength that he has. Night in the area, nothing portends trouble, and suddenly we see a girl on the street. Meet this lady. She wants to visit Kin Yun, supposedly just to meet him. Seeing her, a servant runs up to her, but she does not like it at all. But the servant just wanted to inform the girl that the guy is a sinner, and it is extremely not worth visiting him. After all, it is the friendship between him, the fourth prince, she says back to him. The man thanks, and they go through the main entrance of the city's prison. They come to the doors and open them. The room is huge, and the girl does not feel much at ease because of these scales. Everywhere in the prison there is some kind of strange rustle. The couple passes through the main prison of the city and notices strange skeletons, a guy and a fat man. They were all creepy in their own way. In the end, the guys approached Kin Yun. The lady asked him about the state, and the boy was surprised that this madam was visiting him. But he does not like it. Kin Yun yells at her, asking why she came. She replies that she has an ideal life, and supposedly the lady herself wants to help him. The lady brought delicious food which included meat, chicken, and potatoes. But Kin Yun was smarter than her. He understood that there might be poison in this food. And the girl responded to his expression by saying that this is a gift from the fourth. He will take care of you. Even knowing this information, Kin Yun refused the gift. According to the guy, the lady knows nothing about life, and he was the most important, powerful, and irresistible. Kin stood in front of thousands of people, but one day she came, or rather her mother, and informed him of the crime, thereby ruining his life. The prince was for his words and was also sure that he had never done anything, but mom's statements do not end there. The woman tells him that he killed the king. Kin Yun still refuses to do so because he didn't do that. She calls her servants and they begin to dig the floor. The prince is at a loss. She screams, orders them to leave, and swears at them. But they had already found everything. Skeletons under the floor of the guy's castle. He was already in a flurry because he didn't even know about these skeletons. Mom smiles. She has just been able to approve her word, and our prince still refuses to accept her opinion. His mother tells him that he not only killed the king but also studied magic. This should not be denied because everyone knows about it. The boy is already all sweaty. 8-8 says that this is a mistake, and the woman puts pressure on him with the fact that Kin Yun has no evidence of this. The Grand Prince learned magic, guards the body of the king, and is now in hiding. I didn't expect this, she says. He remembers this to him to become too ill, and the guy also remembers some girl who is still unknown to us. Perhaps this is the fifth solar vessel. Kin Yun says. The lady does not understand the words of the prince. He asks her if she knows why he is still alive. The girl asks why. It turns out that the queen wants to take his fifth solar vessel for her son. Now she already has 4 vessels. Hearing this, the mistress is shocked. The servant begins to shout that it is impossible to insult the queen, and according to the rules, this is extremely illegal. Kin Yun stands by his words and is not afraid of any punishment. He answers the Borzo's servant. The men, getting angry, take the mistress by the hand and take her away with the words that the guy is a sinner. There is no point in listening to him. Everyone left. He was left alone with himself. There was no one nearby, and the prince realized that in a few years he would not have a vessel. However, Kin Yun is not going to wait for this moment. He studied magic every day in prison. His strength was very powerful. The training that took place made a lot of sense. The prince hit the wall and did not even feel any pain. The muscles and magic that he studied moved him up a notch. Hot flames blazed from his hands, upon impact of which no one would have restrained himself. The next day, Kin Yun is woken up by asking about yesterday's food that the lady brought. By the way, her name is Xiao Yuan. The guy tells him not to be arrogant, yelling at him. He absolutely does not care about the opinion of the former prince. Kin, realizing that he has a powerful, invincible power, the boy calls them to steal his vessel. But the food hasn't gone anywhere, so they brought a new one. And also, after he eats, he will be put out on the street. That is, he will be kicked out of prison. The prince begins to eat maliciously because he does not like these people at all. The boy deliberately angers him by laughing at him while he eats. Of course, it is very difficult for him to restrain his nerves, but what can you do? A few minutes pass, our prince is full, and the guy gives the order to the servants to take his hands. Kin, realizing that there is no other way, begins to apologize to them. He literally begs them not to take away his vessel. And our villain then understands everything perfectly. He knows about his vessel. Again excitement and again sweat. No one expected that the great prince would become so miserable. Suddenly the guy pushes him and he falls. everyone, so the last does not want the prince to remain in life. On the orders of the fourth, they take him by the hands and take him somewhere. And now they have arrived at this place. The prince is raised to his feet. Before us is an elderly grandfather asks the state of the guy, to which he replies that everything is fine, but the prince has gone crazy. The fourth approaches the elder and teaches him some subject with a golden color. In response to such an act, the guy sincerely thanks the elderly man. Suddenly, the prince abruptly jumps away from the hands of the servants. Everyone is shocked by such an act. The elder opens his eyes wide because the guy's act struck absolutely everyone standing in this area. Stretching out his magical hand, the guy takes the thing that grandfather gave to the fourth. The fourth is very angry with the prince because he dared to deceive such a majesty. Smiling, Qin Yun kicks him with his leg and he flies off like a leaf from the trees he beats against the wall. Qin Yun takes this gold and swallows it, saying it tastes better than anything he ate. The elder yells for the servants to immediately catch the prince. However, the guy's magical fiery power has not gone anywhere. He takes the swords from the servant. At this moment, people are screaming because if you put the sword in the hands of this guy, then the end will be too bad. The prince approaches the queen. She says that the boy betrayed everyone. But in response to this, the guy explains to her that she's a real villain, and today all their issues are resolved. The queen raised the prince. She did not even think that he could betray everyone like that. Qin Yun is now a level 4 battle vessel. He runs up and jumps up to the queen, but then a mysterious man wants to deal with him and make it clear who he has to fight. An unknown man stretches out his hand to the guy's sword, and the sword seems to melt. And then a girl we don't know appears. She asks about the battle vessel of the 4th level and understands that this boy is very strong. She approaches the prince. The girl wants to fight him on an equal footing, and also tells the guy that Howlin's school would not hurt someone like him. After all, he is very strong. Are you kidding me? I won't join your school, says the boy. However, the girl tells him that she will make him do it because she is only the main one. The queen looks at all this. She has a bad feeling. She does not understand how to look at this scene. The prince says that if he wants to be forced to go to that school, then she needs to fight him. The girl agrees to fight. They start a fight, and she takes out a bundle of golden silks so that she ties up the guy and he remains in the ropes. The woman goes somewhere, then flies away. Taking our boyfriend, the queen asks them what is happening, how it happened, and they answer that they don't know at all. And now 1 hour has passed. A strange girl takes off our prince's clothes. It turns out she just wants to look at the vessel that the guy has. Woman says that the guy has only one vessel but very powerful, which is very rare. And now you will be my student, call me master, she says. But the prince allegedly will not be her student, and he will return to the empire to take revenge on the queen. But she knows everything and also informs him that he is still quite small in order to take revenge on the queen, and prince should have thanked that she pulled him out of such a situation. The only thing he can do is join Howlin Academy and just train. And the nice guy just agrees. And again, the master ties up the boy. They are running somewhere, and Kim Yun is very scared. A long time passes. They are still walking, and it turns out that they are walking along the mountain range. The woman said that she was almost there, and that they would already come. The couple arrived at the Hulin martial arts site. Starting today, the prince officially becomes a student of the 9th group. She, or rather the master, will make him awaken the fighting spirit in the guy and become the most powerful of all whom she has met. Qin Yun asks where the head of the group and the rest of the students are, to which he receives the answer that the boy is the only student and will study alone. And so they do not go to this place. Somehow a lot of people find themselves in this room. She is unhappy with this since so many people were not here. The girl in front of us, she says that everyone should look at the alleged master. They say that she found herself a student outside of our school. No one expected to see you like this, she said. The woman laughed at the master because she brought a fat dwarf. Everyone was not sure that the guy was strong and he looked pretty uncool. But the master claimed that the student is an incredible talent that occurs once in 100 years, and now the 9th group will take the first place in the list. The woman laughed at her because all the students of the 9th group had once flowed because they were weak. However, the white-haired ones still thought that their clan would be the first on the list since many talented disciples had appeared during this time. And the master said for her own, and the quantity does not solve anything. The home of this reality is the disciple, and they began the process of awakening the spirit. The front was a soul artifact that awakened a fighting spirit in the human body. After awakening, artifact will light up with bright rays, she said, and the color also determines the strength of a person. The prince asked what level of morale is passable, that is, to become cooler than everyone else. The master reported that silver is a passable one, but yellow gold or white gold was better. Of course, she herself was white gold, because she was better than him. Such excellent people like her are few to meet. And also the woman said that their student would go first simply because it was necessary. And then the first student of all came. They knew him as the strongest, but he did not pass because his morale was only yellow. Because of this, everyone was disappointed with him. Everyone started laughing, and the blondes scolded the guy and kicked him out. They called another one. It was also one of the strong ones, but it didn't work out for him, and the others did the same. Seeing this situation, the woman was about to summon the strongest student of all time. The guy said that he would not let anyone down and proceeded. Everyone who is present in this city heard that everyone in this clan has a strong fighting spirit. Also, this clan is one of the strongest in the city. All weekends from the clan are very gifted. And the disciple came up and his golden thunder fighting spirit was admitted. Girl, they'll get mad since this guy never disappoints anyone. Golden grand fighting spirit is found in about 1 in 10,000 people. The woman began to laugh because Ms. Yang lost, by the way. She thought that this was the end because the boy was weak. The woman warned the prince to beware that he might be hit in the face. And then he approached as the strongest, and he was wondering what his fighting spirit was. He held out his hands and everyone was sure that he would lose, but then a yellow-violet glow appeared on him. People understand that purple gold is always allowed. It is difficult to explain why it is so strong since the prince has only one solar meridian. The strongest student understands that the fighting spirit of a little kid is stronger than him. The white-haired woman is at a loss, does not understand what just happened. And the girl then smiles. Her face showed how pleased she was with her student. After they left, the woman began to have fun because even she did not expect it. In the confrontation between the squads, she was sure that Kim Yan would win because he had a purple golden spirit. However, the boy is still afraid because he has only one battle vessel. She asks if he knows why the master chose him. Kin asks why. She replies that usually people with one solar meridian give up cultivation, but the prince did not give up and reached level 4. This means that the boy has a stronger will than anyone else, and this decides a lot. The guy answers all this in this way, but I have never done cultivating, nor have I studied key cultivating. But the teacher had many ways and techniques to help him with this, but somehow later, and the guy thanked his master. So they came to the student dormitory. Here he will live and train. No one in this place will disturb him. She held out some strange thing, and it turned out to be a sun energy depth technique. This thing will help him with the first steps, and in extreme cases, if he finishes working with this thing faster than necessary, he can change it to another simply by calling the master. The woman also warns that you should not go outside just like that, and the competition between the detachments will be in a few more days. If you have any questions, ask me. I'll be in the room, she says. The guy starts working with the technique of the sun. A lot of time has already passed. The guy is all in flames, and next to him there is a lot of key cultivation. Suddenly, the guy takes something out of his pocket. It turns out to be the beads of the 9 suns of the world. They were presented to him by the teacher. Kin Yan remembers how the maid gave him a teacher's gift. The beads of the 9 suns respond to the 9 varieties of Kai, just like the 9 varieties of spiritual solar meridians. This will speed up his cultivation and help him to rise to a new stage faster, and one of the beads will open at all, so that the prince can receive the items inside it. Each of the beads contains a powerful treasure. Together, they will help him become the strongest man on earth. Kin Yan was already confused. He did not even think that he could become the strongest in the world. With his current stage, he will be able to open another one. He tried to infuse a little fire inside, and the effect happened abruptly. Everything around him began to shine with some kind of magic. The boy did not understand what it was and how to deal with it. Suddenly, a bamboo scroll appeared in his eyes. He was caught inside the first bead. The prince thought that this was probably some kind of technique, but it turned out that this was a spiritual imprint. 36 spiritual imprints, 18 profound impressions, and 9 Tao impressions were in it. By the way, spiritual imprints are needed to create spiritual weapons. They are written on various weapons and devices. Depth impressions are needed to create even more powerful weapons. And what about the imprints of the Tao, you ask? They are needed to create powerful weapons. Now that the prince has all those weird imprints, he can be a master inscription. But if someone finds out about this, then the kid will be in big trouble. Such a magnificent treasure was hidden in the very first bead. It must be that very valuable treasures are also hidden in other beads. The prince can't even wait until he opens the rest. The boy wanted to rest and finished his study. Now he was already sleeping, and the master abruptly comes in. She calls Kin Yan, saying that it's time for them to go to a competition between new students. Kin Yan was very sleepy. He thought that it was planned in a few days. However, the teacher told him that the clan head had come out of seclusion earlier, and the other masters asked him to attend. They must not be late, or the two will be severely punished, perhaps even expelled, and they went together. The student and the master arrived, and the elder greeted the newly arrived students at Hualing Academy. They have a small competition between squads before training to figure out how to allocate resources. Each squad is entitled to send up to 16 students. Kin Yan was not much worried about this event. He asked the master if this tournament was important, and if it was not very important, could he leave and not waste time on this? But she replies that the competition between the squads is not just demonstration battles, it determines the distribution of resources between the squads for the whole year. If they lose, they will not get anything. But if they win, they will get everything they need. Without enough resources, no one can progress faster in cultivating than others. The prince did not understand the word resources. He asked a question about them. 200,000 crystals, 2 medium-level purification pills. This is what the teacher will get, and subsequently the students. Also, the squad will receive a high-level technique that the students of the squad can master. You will win twice and double the reward, says the master. The reward was boring for the prince, but for the sake of the teacher, he agreed. Oddly enough, there is only Hin in their squad. It turns out that other squads can crush him because they have more people. However, the girl asks the guy not to worry. The tournament involves battles in 2 rounds one-on-one. So the number of students does not play a big role. The prince only needs to win 2 rounds and they will get all the resources they need. The elder asked everyone to pay attention to the table because now they were starting the draw. The results came out. The couple turned out to be against the 6th detachment, and they were rumored to be strong. The battle begins from a second to a second, and the first are the members of the 9th detachment against the 6th. The master asked the prince to be careful because anything can happen. Qin Yan had a fight with Yan Zhongming. They used to know each other and had not seen each other for a long time. It turns out that Yan Zhong's grandfather helped the guy in stealing one of his solar meridians, and he laughed at him. He told him that the queen had borrowed the solar meridians for a while. The guy thus offers Qin Yan that they should not fight, but the boy just needs to apologize to him. He, as the grandson of the general of the Tian Qin Empire, will not aggravate the situation of the prince. Qin did not care at all about the statements of Yan Zhongming because his grandfather was a miserable henchman of the queen. The man began to get angry because his grandfather was not like that at all, and their match began. Yan Zhong jumped at the guy with all his strength. He was quite fast because not even a second had passed since the beginning of the tournament. The boy extended his hand and hit Qin Yan with all the force he had, but his blow didn't go through. His hand seemed to freeze. The master was worried about the prince. She asked him to be careful. Yan laughed more because he understood that Master Poco had also come with the boy. And the prince did not finish his jokes. He made it clear to the peasant that his blow did not pass at all. He began to get angry because he did not understand how this happened. He took the prince by the hands and wanted to throw him into a deflection. But suddenly, Qin Yan took Zhongming by the hands and threw him directly into a stone, or rather onto the ground, calling him a weakling. The elder announced the winner. Of course, it was Qin Yan from the 9th Division. The rest of the students were frightened by the boy's reception. They did not even believe that he had 1 set of solar meridians. The prince approached the master. He complained to her about the fight that happened now because it was boring for him. The teacher hugged him. She was joyful because Qin Yan had just won this fight. She chose him for a reason. Finally, the couple made it to the 2nd round, and by the way, it had already begun. The 9th squad against the 6th, Weixuan against Kim Yun, represented the fight, went up to the stage, and here is Weixuan in front of us. Bella-haired ordered him to teach the prince a real lesson because he was insolent. And the student then asked her not to worry about her. He still did it even without an order out of revenge for the Aunt Empress. The master asked Qin Yun to be on the alert because the opponent was quite strong, and she also asked not to hit him in the forehead since Weixuan had a thunder-fighting spirit, and the guy was confident in himself and asked her not to worry. Weixuan says that he saw the previous fight and was impressed by it. But I wanted to see if Qin Yun could handle a thunderclap, and he agreed immediately. "You are brave," Wei says. Suddenly, Xuan jumped at the boy. He was all charged with lightning energy and was about to hit him. The woman still continued to cheer for her disciple and thought that Qin Yun was an ordinary boy. And he didn't just learn magic. His hands began to blaze in flames, and with this he was able to stop Weixuan's thunder. It was shocked and suddenly burst into flames as the fire and the effect with lightning ignites immediately. The enemy fell to the floor, all burned out. The elder announced the winner, Qin Yun from the 9th Division. The woman was shocked. She didn't expect such a process at all, because she was 100% sure that Weixuan would win. The students were also freaked out by this outcome of events. The fact is that they didn't even know who Qin Yun was. The director rewarded the prince, and there were 40 purple crystal coins in the box, which is about 40,000 crystals. 4 more mid-level key purification pills and 2 high-level martial arts techniques. Qin Yun decided to give the treasure to the master, because thanks to her he won, and she decided that she would take the prince to her and teach him at home herself. The guy was against it, but it was too late. Master's room, they're both here. The girl informs the student that he should take cleansing pills. They will help him advance to the 5th stage. He asks if he can become ill if he eats everything at once, and the master decides that she herself will tell the prince when to take the medicine. Many hours passed. The guy sat and thought about whether it would be good for him if he ate everything at the same time. He decided not to wait for anything and ate both in a second. A huge wave of ki poured over him. He became very ill. Suddenly, a black demon appeared around him, the blue-eyed Ophical completely from this. The screams haunted him, and finally he felt better. Just now, Qin Yun drank black kai, perhaps by the way it was his second martial spirit. Rather strange. All those cleansing pills didn't make him break through, but they did help form his second fighting spirit. He decided that he would never tell anyone about this and fell asleep. The next day came, the prince was still sleeping sweetly, and then the teacher came to him. She shouted, saying that the boy should wake up. However, she came in at a bad moment without knocking. It turns out that the master woke him up because a girl named Xiao Yulan came to him. For a couple of seconds, he froze as he did not expect to meet her here. Xiao approached him. About 5 years had passed between them. They haven't seen each other for such a long time. The girl came because they needed to talk about something important. Remember when our mothers got us secretly engaged? There was an engagement agreement. Do you still have it? She said. Fortunately or unfortunately, the prince had this agreement. He offered her to take this agreement only she would need it in a year, and if he did not return this paper to her, then she would pursue Qin Yun to the end of the world. The boy would like to give now because he does not want her to make a fool of him on the day of the engagement, but she would not do this. She doesn't have time for this. Qin isn't even worth it, and Xiao Yu left after saying that. The master came. She realized that this girl was his bride, but the guy denied such thinking from the teacher because their parents just betrothed them in childhood. The woman began to get angry and wanted to help the guy so that together they would teach Xiao Yulan a lesson, but the prince refused because he did not want problems. The teacher asked him to stay away from women like her, and he should also focus on his training. This way, he will be able to take part in the Sky Lion fighting tournament. The boy did not even know about such a tourniquet. She began to tell it this duel is held once every 5 years and is open to cultivators at the 4th and 5th stages of body hardening. Although it's rare to find students who participate with the 4th stage, the boy probably has a chance. But these fights did not interest him at all, because he won every one. Sharply, the girl took him by the jaw and told him that she would fulfill any desire of the guy if he won. The guy was confused. He was all red, and she just left, wishing him good luck with training. Qin Yun began to learn the techniques of Flaming Cloud Step and Flaming Light Strike. 3 days passed from that moment. They came to the Heavenly Lion Hall. The minimum requirement here was that it was either the 4th or 5th stage of body hardening, but not all cultivators at this stage would be able to participate. To be able to fight in this tournament, you need to have skills. So first of all, Qin Yun must pass the test. And the guy also asked what he would win if he took first place in this tour. What would be his reward? If he is the first, he will be able to cultivate a heavenly lion in the hot spring. The spring water of the heavenly lion is very hot and is said to have special properties. Being able to cultivate heavenly lion in the hot springs can greatly increase the prince's cultivating speed. And when they are at the springs, they can get closer and even become friends. The guy didn't even want to imagine this, but it turned out somehow. But the master told him not to be shy because he understands that he is growing. They went inside the castle and approached the registration area. The teacher informed the worker that they wanted to enroll, or rather Qin Yun from the 9th grade. He of course agreed to register the boy and was surprised that they came, but warned them not to force themselves too much. And then she came, Master Yang, you shouldn't be so arrogant. You should know your student's limits. Just because he won the interclass tourney with some luck doesn't mean he will always win. After all, he's your only student. It would be terrible if he got hurt in this tournament, Kui Hui said. Yana was not very happy with the visit of this woman because she literally got her with her presence. Allegedly, Kui did not want to fight her. The woman offered to see who would perform better in the tournament. And by the way, that White Swan, who owned the Spirit of Thunder, would like to learn from Qin Yun, because the boy is very strong for his age. The prince was surprised that Wei would like to meet him. The master told him that White Swan Kong is the son of the inscription master. He is literally a genius who is in the 5th stage of body hardening. The boy must avoid any conflict with him, and after that they went to the training hall before the tournament. A lot of time passed. The director called them to explain the new rules. It turns out that this year's tournament is not much different from last year. Due to the large number of participants, it changed the rules of the tournament. Now the participant must go to the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range to hunt the creepy scary demons. The participant's rating will be calculated based on the number of demons killed and their ranks. The process of hunting demons is quite dangerous, and the participants should not attack the evil demons. After killing the demon, the participants must collect the crystal they obtained in order to receive their points. The master understands that going to the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range will not be easy at all. The director also notes that if they do not return within 7 days, they will be disqualified, and also shows the way to the mountain range. The fighting tournament begins at the order of the old man. The participants immediately begin to run towards that road. The teacher, unfortunately, cannot go with him because according to the rules this is not allowed. Yang warns Kinhyun to be as careful as possible. The boy promises that he will take first place and there is no need to worry about him. This time, the queen may send criminals for the boy. Because of this reason, anything can happen. Kwei yelled at Wag Swan Kun as he still hadn't gone to Cloud Dragon Mountain Range and Kim Yun was already there. If they miss this opportunity, then it will be more difficult to end it later. But he asked her to relax because Kim Yun had long been gone from his eyes. The white-haired woman also asked him not to be careless because if something does not go according to plan, the queen will blame them, and the man did not like the queen at all. Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, Kim was already here. He was walking around the area and waiting for the night. Since at night, he needs to find demons. However, this place is very huge. He doesn't even know where to start searching, and for some reason, there is no one next to him. Where did the rest of the participants go, he thinks. The place is very long. The prince was very tired. Suddenly, something dripped on him. He did not pay attention, thinking that most likely it was water. Suddenly, we see a creepy, terrifying monster behind him. Kinhyun was quite hungry, and he did not even imagine that he was standing behind him. Suddenly, the guy turns around, sees him. The prince is very scared, and the demon starts to beat on the ground, and he jumps. If the guy manages to resist, realizing that this is the same demon, he will have to destroy it. The boy bounces from the grip of the demon. He apologizes to him and tries to hit him with a technique with the energy of the sun. But suddenly he realizes that it is not so easy. The demon laughs at him. Kinhyun understands that his strength is far from such a monster and decides to run away. The creepy creature immediately starts running after him, screaming at him, and the monster's blows were too close. For the prince, this is not good at all. King gets tired quickly. Then the boy remembers that he has a map of a flaming cloud with which you can hide. Using this card, the guy seems to disappear. The demon does not see him and starts searching. Kinhyun hid behind a tree. He was finally able to break away from the monster. He says, the step of the flaming cloud helped him a lot. Without it, there would be consequences. It seems that the demon needs to be stopped in command. The prince decides to look for a partner. But in fact, he is not alone in the forest. Wag Swan Kun is also in it. He is looking for a boy. The next day comes. The students have found the demon and are trying to defeat him, but they are having a hard time. They hit as hard as they can, but it's quite difficult. The dragon-shaped monster seems to be completely undamaged. The students understand that this is a 5th-ranked demon. It is possible that they will not be able to overpower this enemy. He growls at the girl very loudly. She is terrified of such a creature. Some strange man in a suit runs up and throws the monster to the ground with his powerful blow, helping the girl. The mysterious man approached the lady he saved and asked her condition. However, she called him a freak because of the appearance of the man, rather strange. The demon was on the ground. It is clear that he is very ill. The boy was grateful with all his heart to the man because if not for him, they would not have defeated the essence. He also asked for the name of the mysterious rescuer. But it turned out that it was actually Kinhyun. He dressed in a suit and changed his image to hide from the enemies sent by the queen. The prince must keep his identity a secret and must not be exposed by anyone. The man allegedly gave his name, Wanyun. The guy also got to know him. His name is Dim Tian Chun. He's from the 3rd grade. The Van's brother already has a team, but the man can join the hunt with them. The girl began to worry due to the fact that this man appeared out of nowhere and still looks ugly. Dim Tian Chun scolded her, as the mysterious man risked his life to save them, but the woman invents all sorts of nonsense about her savior. She apologized for this situation and noticed that she would not do this again. Kinhyun trusted the guy and became more confident. The prince thanked him for inviting him to the team. Comrades of the team came. The guy also met them along the way. They are all trustworthy and will not betray. They said hello. The guys are happy to meet. The girl was still thinking about the strange guy. They don't know anything about him, and the elder is already calling him to the clan. In every possible way, she decides to look for a way to get this disguised one kicked out. It took about half an hour. With the efforts of the team, collected the crystal and decided to leave. Suddenly, Dim Tian Chun decides to give gold to Wanyun. Because he defeated this beast, he refused because he had at least a share of conscience. The mustachioed one offered to share the share so that no one would lose heart. "Well, yeah, where are you going to hunt demons?" says Wanyun, to which Dim Tian Chun replies that they will go deep into the mountain range. There are many demons, and you could get a lot of crystals in a short time. However, in the depths of the mountain range, demons of the 6th rank roam is very dangerous. It is better not to go there alone. "What are the strongest demons out there?" he asks. The entire Cloud Dragon mountain range, much larger than the Tianzun Empire. The 2 empires next to it are also connected by the mountain range. There are many treasures in this vast area. The demons can absorb them to constantly evolve, so there might be swan beasts in the depths of the ridge. The disguised prince did not understand the word swan beasts. It turns out that the body-tempering orb corresponds to demonic beasts. The path-tempering realm corresponds to spiritual beasts, and swan beasts are higher than the path-tempering realm. Wan Yun remembered about the demon who was hunting him and decided to ask about him. As we understand from the words of Dim Tian Chun, this is a demon of the 7th rank. He is very dangerous. Ordinary people who encounter him will not even be able to survive. Now the mysterious man understood why his techniques were ineffective. Hearing this, he was surprised since not everyone can run away from him. "Brother Wan, your level of cultivation is truly shocking," said Dame Tian Chun. Their conversation was interrupted by a man from the clan because they needed to find the crystals and they couldn't delay. They had to go deep into the mountain range. Qin Yun and the others went deep into the Cloud Dragon mountain range to hunt other beasts. After a couple of hours, the team began to destroy the monsters. Following the target was their rule. 2 days later, they had a lot of crystals. It was a whole bag of them. It would be enough for them to share the crystals for sure. But in order to receive awards from the academy, they will be able to return only tomorrow. Suddenly, someone from above shouted for the team to leave the crystals and leave. Everyone wondered who it was and how he dared to say such a thing. After these words, a magical attack was activated on the guy as if he was thrown back. The clan was still looking for the stranger with their eyes. Wan Yun found him by looking up. Men asked him to get off as well as to appear so that they would understand who it really is. The stranger was surprised by Wan Yun as his eyes found the red-eyed one the fastest. He went down to earth, greeted everyone. Ding Tian immediately saw him and realized that it was Jian Lan from the first class. The team was already ready to fight with him. They threatened him with the consequences, because you can't just touch your own. He was ready for the moment of judgment and said that the dead should not talk. The guys were startled by Jian Lan's statement. They jumped up and were about to attack him. Suddenly, Jian extended his magical hands. He awakened his spirit with this. Everyone was shocked by this turn of events, and unfortunately 2 men passed away. Dame Tian as well as Wan Yun were astounded by the boy's act. It turned out that this guy is a sonic martial soul. With this skill, he can destroy any creature. Dim Tian Chun asked the others to run away because the rest of the team won't be able to defeat him. Jian Lan called the man very insightful, and at the same time, Ding Tian asked Wan Yun to leave, as if he himself could detain him. The hero is jumping with a sword in his hands. He is going to destroy the magical villain. Everyone is afraid for him. People ask him not to do this, but there was no other way for him. The guy held out the sword to him, and at that moment, Jan stopped him with the help of ice, that is, he froze him. The crystal shield was literally holding him back, but in fact, the crystal shield can break from sound waves, and this turned out to be true. As soon as the ice was destroyed, the enemy ran up to him at the same second. According to him, the speed was as fast as that of sound. Jan reached out his hand and placed it on the boy's chest. Thus, he unleashed a sonic boom against him. Ding Tianchong fell to the ground. He felt very bad from such a blow. The body was not ready for such an occurrence of events. The stranger decided to say goodbye to him. The enemy was about to perform sound magic on Dim Tian, when suddenly Wan Yun approaches him and takes his hand to take revenge on him. Jian Lan was too stubborn. He was angry at him, but he suddenly manifested martial fire spirit magic and hit Jian Lan in the face with all his strength, and he flew a few meters back from such a powerful blow. The villain seemed to be carried at the speed of light. Qin Yun was proud of himself for being able to help his team, and with a laugh, he looked at the flying Jian. The team was inspired by him. He was able to do it with one blow, just destroy the villain with one blow. Wan Yun asked Dame Tian Chong to leave this matter to him. He would decide everything himself. And now Jian Lan woke up. The enemy did not expect to meet someone as strong as Wan Yun here. It was interesting for him to have a fight with him. He got to his feet, and after that he began to emit sound waves. The earth began to tremble, as if there was an earthquake. It was possible to stand on the legs of spruce. The mysterious guy yelled at everyone to quickly get the team out of here, as the end could end badly. Sound waves vibrated. Jian Lan's energy was so strong and all the trees shook from it. People flew up from such magic. Everything began to collapse, or to be more precise, to be destroyed into smithereens. There was nothing left of the area alive. The clan members were injured due to such a disaster. Due to the strong impact on the ground, Kim Yun's suit flew off. His identity was no longer hidden. When Jian saw him, he immediately understood who it was because almost everyone knew the prince. Only he could remain unscathed when faced with the villain's technique, and he, in turn, was glad that everyone knew him. The enemy began to tell him that the queen had appointed an astronomical reward for the assassination attempt on the prince. There are no people who would not know about him. The boy asked him a question about the reward. if he wanted to receive it, he was not interested in the reward. However, the queen had already sent Wang Swan Kong to finish the business with the prince. Wang Swan again, the guy was wondering, who is this? What does he need from me? The opponent then tells that Wang Swan is the only inscription master in the academy. He also won first place in the last Sky Lion tour. That's it. You should find a place to hide. Wang Swan Kong is out of your league. See you. Jian Lan said. And he didn't want to fight with the guy at all. The prince thought that he would steal the crystals from him. But as it turned out, he didn't need them at all. Qin Yun understood that the guy was somehow strange. He didn't just come to them. They were all lying wounded on the ground. A couple of hours later, Dame Tian Chun woke up. He immediately started looking for Wan Yun. The wounded boy also saw crystals intact. It looked very strange, since in fact the villain came for the treasure. Inside, he saw a note. Taking it in his hands, he began to read, "Brother Dean, I attracted the attention of someone strong, so I left alone because I do not want to put you in danger. Guys, I leave these crystals to you. Next time when we will definitely meet for dinner," Qin Yun wrote in a note. Ding Tian was worried about him. He didn't want him to suffer. Kuei Hui had been looking for the prince for a long time. She was alone in search, and Wang Swan had left her alone. Her stomach growled. A woman was very hungry because she had not eaten for a very long time. She suddenly felt the smell. The smell was very tasty, and she realized that it was the smell of fried meat. Kuei Hui found this place smelling of food. She saw some uncle she didn't know. But it turns out that this is Qin Yun again in the guise of Wan Yun. Seeing her boyfriend was worried, he was very scared of her. And she most likely did not recognize him because she called the guy uncle. The girl asked to share with food in exchange for crystal coins. The prince felt better until Kuei Hui burned him. The chicken was fried. The guy decided to still give the woman meat and asked her to leave after eating. Bilahari was very happy. A couple of minutes later, everything was eaten. She ate. It was almost impossible to describe how good she felt. Suddenly, she took a closer look at the alleged uncle. He began to remind her of someone, but the guy refused to accept such an opinion. "Most likely you were mistaken," he said. She agreed. Maybe she was wrong. And another woman said that a lot of people hunt for one guy. He most likely hid in the depths of the forest. His name is Qin Yun. She met her uncle, told about herself, and asked him why he was in such a dangerous place. "I'm Wan Yun. I've been training here, and since I'm here, I wanted to collect some crystals." The man said. Kuei Hui suggested to the undercover prince that they team up. She thinks it's better to have a partner in such a dangerous place. However, he refused. He wanted to be alone. The girl was angry with him because no one can refuse invitations from such a beauty as she. Based on the situation, she decided to use her technique. Kuei Hui called her uncle, began to look at him with loving eyes, and again offered to unite. Wan Yun immediately moved away from her. He did not like it in any way. The girl just wanted to be in the team, and in this way allure the man. For a couple of seconds, the prince thought that he could step in because if he was next to Kuei Hui, no one would find him. He should just keep Kuei Hui close to him, and then safety would be guaranteed. Wan Yun decided to unite with Kuei, who in turn was delighted. However, the man expressed his opinion about interfering in each other's affairs. As soon as he collects enough crystals, he leaves. While the man was speaking his words, she ate all the meat that he got. Wan Yun started shouting at her because it was personally obtained meat, but she was hungry again, and because of this, she could not resist. And since they were in the same team, it was because of such things will be stupid to litter. It was late at night. The couple were looking for crystals together, and suddenly the girl decided to tell him her proposal that if he finds a person named Qin Yun, then in return, she will help him collect all the crystals. Wan Yun started asking for more information about Qin Yun. "This arrogant, ugly, mediocre guy is pissing me off a lot," the girl said. Uncle's questions never ended. He asked her if she hated him. Kuei Hui thought about the answer. She thought that the guy was not so bad. Most likely because of the queen. Qin Yun is a very talented student in his own right. And if he were her student, then everything would be much better than now. But in the end, he belongs to Master Yang. Over time, Wan Yun understood her. He thought and told her that she was not so bad at all. She asked why he said that, but they were in a hurry. So there was no time to explain. Wan Yun was walking through the forest with Kuei Hui. He asked her to be quiet because there might be demons around, but she said that she should not be underestimated because she is the master of the 6th degree of body hardening and the demons are afraid of her. Suddenly, a huge green demon captured Kuei Hui. She began to scream. Wan Yun saw this. The demon was very large and scary. Wan Yun did not expect this because she had the 6th stage of body tempering and the demons would not come close to her. But this octopus was a rank 8 forest kraken. She screamed for help and Wan Yun came to her aid. Qin Yun thought in his mind that if he used the sun energy technique or the blazing light strike, then she would know who he was, so he used the air blast technique that he taught in Mom. He used the technique and he freed Kuei Hui from the demon's tentacles. She barely stood still and fell. He caught her, and they started to run away from him. But suddenly the demon hit him and he fell. Kui Hui asked Wan Yun if everything was okay. He said yes. She asked what they should do now, because they can't leave here. Wan Yun offered to attack him together until they find his weak spot. Kui Hui said that he would leave it to her. To them, the demon attacked again and she used the technique. A large magic ball flew at the demon and Wan Yun jumped from the trees and attacked the demon from above using the air burst technique. He hit him. His body was hard, but the demon hurt him. Kui Hui was scared for him and he fell to the ground. He was lying and there was a huge monster in front of him. Kui Hui used the technique and the magic ball flew at the demon. She came closer. The demon abruptly grabbed Kui Hui. She tried to get out, but her attempts were unsuccessful. Wan Yun wanted to help her. He didn't know how to use this technique, but he tried. There was a black shadow around him. Kui Hui said if this darkness is the seismic martial soul. Again, the demon's tentacles approached Wan Yun. They almost touched him, but Wan Yun began to swing his fist at the demon. Fearing that there was a risk of harming himself, but there was no time to think about it, he hit the monster and it began to break apart, flying back from parts of his body fell off. Kui Hui was freed. She saw that the demon was destroyed. Suddenly, a red ball began to appear from it. Later, she saw that Wan Yun had an injured hand, face, and body. The girl asked a question in connection with the condition of the guy, but he was not able to answer all this. A couple of hours passed. The woman kindled the fire herself so that it would not be cold and also put Wan Yun on the ground so that he could rest. At one point, the man wakes up. He got up from the ground and does not understand what happened. The questions in his head do not give him peace. He sees all the wounds on his body and asks Kui what happened to him. "Uncle, your body couldn't withstand the recoil from using the seismic battle soul and you passed out," said the red-eyed one. The guy immediately asked a question about this. What is seismic disease then? It turns out that the seismic battle soul is very rare. It has a very strong shockwave. Suddenly realizing that something is not right, the girl asks her uncle about a strange question. Does he really not know the name of his fighting soul then? Wan Yun was confused. Supposedly he forgot about the name of the martial soul due to his injuries. He just got almost exposed. The guy needs to be more careful so that the end is not bad. Since uncle is so strong, the white-haired woman suggests that he go to the Nine Suns Concentration Spiritual Circle. This place is guarded by high-level demons, but if they are together, they can defeat them and easily enter the circle. And the prince did not understand why all this, what was the use of this spiritual circle. But the spiritual circle was actually very influential. The Nine Sun Concentration Spiritual Circle was created by the founder of the Spiritual Academy to focus the spiritual energy of the Cloud Dragon Mountain range. In the circle, cultivators can absorb a huge amount of spiritual energy to increase their skill. But if there are too many cultivators, the spiritual energy of Cloud Dragon Mountain Ridge will be depleted, so the Academy has placed high-level creepy demons to guard the circle. Only the elders of the Academy can enter there. And the head of their spiritual martial academy, Zhang, broke into the realm of the martial path precisely in the spiritual circle of concentration of the Nine Suns. Wan Yun realized that the martial Dao realm was not an easy thing. Right now, he would not even be able to properly control his martial spirit. The prince had to raise his realm level and put himself in order. The uncle decides to go right now because there is nothing to wait for, relatively speaking. Kui Hui is shocked by such a proposal because the man needed to heal his injuries first and then fight the demons. However, he reports that all injuries have been healed, there is no need to worry, and they run there. Morning came. Weixuan Khan was already in search of a guy. He smashed everything that he did not like on his way. Even that boy he almost hurt. His strength was very powerful, and not everyone would fight him. The villain wanted very much to appropriate the Nine Sun Concentration Spiritual Circle for himself. For this, he was ready to do anything. He weeded out the weaklings. Now it's time for a big guy, or rather a creepy creature. The guy was able to defeat everyone else, and the monster in front of him was blue and terribly scary. The monster looked at him like it was food for him. The couple approached the Nine Sun Concentration Spiritual Circle. Blue light shone around the area. They looked at her, and especially the guy was shocked. They needed to move faster before anyone claimed this place. Kui Hui started to run and accidentally bumped into someone's hand. The woman was immediately frightened when she saw a man on the ground. It turned out to be a student from the academy, and he was injured. The girl wondered who could do this to them. Most likely they were demons, since there was no one else there. Wan Yun understood that these terrible creatures had quite a lot of power, because there were many losers. They were still tormented by questions. What happened here? This cannot be the usual power of a demon. Suddenly, the girl opens her eyes wide and sees him. A terrible, terrible entity. She literally looks at her with poisonous eyes. It was a guardian demon. He guarded the area so that no one penetrated. However, this entity did not move. It was as if destroyed. It seems that someone is already inside the spiritual circle of concentration of the Nine Suns. And this is not at all easy. The one who did all this is really very strong. There can't even be such people, they think. Suddenly, they saw a paper on the monster's hand. Kui went to take it and realized that it was not a simple paper, but a talisman. Won Yun was so smart, the prince in disguise knew that it was an exploding talisman. He shouted for the girl to throw this thing away immediately. But she did not have time to do this. A powerful explosion of the earth abruptly occurred. They were thrown back very far. A furious storm formed on the ground. The couple fell to the ground, but only Kin Yun was able to immediately get to his feet. All this seemed to him a kind of trap, because it just doesn't happen like that. And now he appears before our eyes the same way Xuan Kun. He comes out of smoke and was struck by the guy as he was able to dodge the exploding talisman. Suddenly, Kui Hu wakes up. In a moment, the girl realizes that Wei Xuan is here, and he had to go after Kin Yun, and the academy will not accept him because he destroyed everyone in his path. According to the rules, it was impossible to do this. The villain greets her. He destroyed everything so that their team could enjoy the energy of the circle together, but no one should know about this. For example, that uncle next to her, he cannot know this situation in any way. Suddenly, Wei uses his spirit, and with it, he wanted an unfamiliar man to be injured and forget about it. Kui yelled at the guy because he saved her life by giving food. Suddenly, Won Yun shouted that he was fine. Do not worry about him. It turns out that Wei Xuan's flames did not rush through him. His strength was so powerful that the fire did not pass through him. The guy was at a loss. In fact, usually everyone is burned because of the flame, but such a light did not harm his uncle. The enemy realized that things were not going well and decided to use their more powerful talisman, or rather the lightning effect. Won Yun didn't care about all this. He was so strong that he didn't even feel any pain. The prince took off his cloak. He raised the fire spirit of the sun and was ready for a lightning strike. With his strength, my uncle was able to stop this and destroy the thunderstorm from the first time just to smithereens. Everything became clear to Wei Xuan because the talisman does not work for people who have a flame-fighting spirit. The girl has questions about her uncle. In fact, he had a seismic fighting spirit, and now somehow he uses the flame technique. No one expected Won Yun to decide to attack Wei Xuan again, but it happened. The guy jumps on him with two flames in his hands, and he did not expect such a turn of events. Wei Xuan Kun decides to take out the Earth Activation Talisman to use it as a shield against fire, and Kin Yun didn't care at all. He broke the earth with his fist and then hit the guy. Because of such a powerful magical blow of the prince, the enemy almost lost. The man seemed to fly back like a bird and then completely hit his back against a stone. The prince then thought that he was strong, but in reality it turned out not to be so. He thought. Kui Hui knew that their fight would lead to bad things because if Wei Xuan got angry, he would instantly become serious. He then liked the strength of the guy. He had not fought strong people for a long time. It looks like he needs a talisman stronger than those previous ones. He takes out a talisman and attaches it to himself. As we understand from the words of the woman, this is the talisman of God. The guy actually has high-level talismans, and this is very bad. Won Yun still ran to the enemy, and the talisman was already activated. His eyes shone very brightly, rays formed from his magical talisman that protected him. The flame in the prince's hands was very strong. The boy was counting on victory and therefore ran at him, intending to hit Wei Xuan again. The villain was very angry and aggressive. With the help of his strength, he was able to finally push Won Yun back. All his actions were very strong. The guy did not even have time to look back as a fist had already flown into him. The prince was in a lot of pain. Won Yun gradually began to fall down. Wei would not just let this matter go. He rose to the maximum height. The villain abruptly trampled everything that was near them with his feet. Kin Yun lay on the ground, losing to the strongest Wei Xuan for the first time in a long time. The opponent was still aggressive. He opened up his hand to his full height and was about to hit the guy with magic power, but suddenly Kui Hui held him by the hand. She screamed at him. The girl asked him to let him go. The uncle did not pose any threat to them. The villain did not like all her ideas. He just wanted her to be on his side. Won Yun woke up. The prince tried to stand up, and meanwhile, Kui asked him to leave immediately. But everything was not so simple. The guy wanted to finish this business with his own hands. Wei Xuan, upon hearing this, realized how arrogant this boy was. Won Yun abruptly took off his disguise completely and put it on so that his identity would not be revealed. However, now Kin Yun was not going to hide his identity. The red-eyed looked at him with shock. The woman did not even imagine that she could meet him and be with him almost all day. The villain, in turn, was glad to see the prince. It was all worth it, so that his efforts were not in vain. He had been looking for Kin Yun for a very long time, and now he has found it. The former prince had such a strong spirit in his hand. He had all sorts of interesting magic tricks up his sleeve. Wei Xuan decided to destroy it with the help of the god's sword. The sword was shining. It was just impossible to turn away from it. Kim was ready for this fight. The hero shouted to him to attack him, and it happened. Wei Xuan extended his sword and slashed at the boy. Everything was shattered into smithereens. There was literally nothing left of the place. Kui Hui almost flew away because of the strength of both guys. Due to Weixuan Kun's strength, a huge hole was created. Qin Yun got there because of the guy's aggression. Seeing this situation, the girl felt a little ill. She understood that the guy who saved her had just fallen into a huge hole. Weixuan regretted what he had done. He did not know that there was a huge hole under this circle. The pit was very long. It seemed to go to the core of the earth. In some strange way, Qin Yun survived. All his clothes were torn. The boy was surprised that he was still alive since he had just been in battle with God. Sharply opening his eyes, the prince saw some strange room. From there shone the purple light. Looking more closely, Qin realized that this was a source of spiritual energy, and finding this place was very difficult for an ordinary person. Now everything became clear to the boy. He found out where such a large concentration of spiritual energy came from. Later, everything fell into place. It turned out that this was the tomb of Lin Bing Lian. She was the founder of a spiritual martial academy that disappeared for nearly 1,000 years. She used her body as a core for a spirit circle, and it took her too much strength to do so. Out of the corner of his eye, Qin Yun saw a strange chest. The boy's curiosity haunted him. It would not be very good to touch other people's things, but the prince decided to just look there. Inside the box was a note. Whoever reads this note, deliver this jade tag to the Azure Spirit Star Palace, Zalor Spirit King. After this is done, you will receive a reward. It is inside the space ring. The prince roughly knew Lin Bing Lian's character. She was too gullible. He decided not to complete the task and instead take the ring. If I can survive this test, I will deliver it. Since this is a reward, let's see what's in there. If I direct a little spiritual energy into the ring, what will happen? Qin Yun said. Suddenly, a spark came from the ring. The thunder that hit the box transformed for a second. A bunch of spiritual potions appeared in it. Qin could not even imagine them in such quantity. These were high-grade spiritual potions. Each of them cost a lot on the market. With these spiritual potions and the rich spiritual energy here, he could easily increase his strength and power. Since then, 2 whole days have passed. All the potions have been drunk by the guy. Qin Yun's entire body shone with bright fire. It was something indescribable. Now he had reached the 6th level of the martial realm. He was so strong that he could destroy almost everything. Even though he had reached the upper realm, he still needed to become stronger, since at this stage, the guy will not be able to defeat Weixuan Kun. The prince will have to study the scrolls left by the master and make his own talismans. Qin longed for the moment when he would come out. The guy really wanted to meet Weixuan Kun. Not a little time has passed as we see the talisman was made. His first personal talisman was completed by him. It was a talisman of flame. The fire was stronger than the guy's spiritual flame. It exploded right in his arms due to his clumsiness. He needed to practice more with the talisman. Qin Yun wanted to try making a lightning talisman, and he succeeded. But as soon as the talisman was formed, it was hit by a strong current. The prince was very hurt by such a blow. The guy did not understand why everything was going wrong, and he decided to deal with it immediately. From the moment the guy began to deal with the talisman, 7 days have passed. A martial arts academy has already had the winner's election. Weixuan Kun's father was sure that his son would take first place again this year, because he always won. However, the director was going to wait until the last moment. There was still a little time before the end. It was too early to draw conclusions now. This battle tournament has been going on for a week now. Some disciples have already returned. Look how many demonic crystals are here. Only my son Weixuan has the most. Who can take first place besides him? It looks like this is the final result. Father said. Master Yang worried that Qin Yun had been gone for such a long time. She wanted him to return as soon as possible because she was confident in the boy's victory. Kui Hu was gloomy. She did not want that boy to lose, and also Weixuan, apparently against the rules of the game, took all these crystals for himself. The time was up. The director was about to announce Weixuan as the winner, but suddenly they heard a scream from far away. It was our hero. Qin Yun had collected so many crystals that no one could have imagined. The headmaster turned to look at him, and his father turned with him. The prince shone all over against the background of the sunset. He had a whole huge bag of crystals on his back. It was clearly larger than Weixuan's. Yang was glad that his student came. She fluttered in the sky with happiness. The opponent was very angry at this situation, but was sure that the guy would never come back. But Kui Hui was very happy for the prince. She thought that he was no longer alive. The guy approached Weixuan. He began to mock him and laugh. Qin Yun also accused him of stealing the crystals. The villain managed to steal all the demonic crystals from the academy participants. The guy's aggression increased. Weixuan began to say that he was just lucky, but that luck had just ended. The teacher immediately interrupted their conversation. The martial arts academy would not tolerate Weixuan Kun's antics and rude actions. He, having heard all this, became agitated and released the prince, but still threatened him that after that day he would not let him go. Yang was glad to meet Kim Yun. She had been waiting for this moment for a very long time and had confidence in her disciple from an early age. The boy did not have time to say that he had returned. The master immediately hugged him. "I knew it. After all, you are my student," said the woman. The moment came when the director announced the end of the Heavenly Lion Fighting Tournament. Now the judge will count the crystals and announce the results of the participants, and he also asked to open his boxes to everyone. Not a little time has slipped by. The judge has counted all the crystals and is now going to announce the top 5 participants. 5th place, Yam Yun's 4th Division, 112 demonic crystals. 4th place, Ryugan's 15th Division, 149 demonic crystals. 3rd place, Wang Chen's 11th Division, 176 demonic crystals. He announced the participants to the 3rd place. Now the time has come for the result of the 1st and 2nd places. 2nd place went to the disciple of the 9th Division, Kim Yun, 270 demonic crystals. 1st place, 7th Division, Wang Swan Kung, 806 demonic crystals. The father was proud of his son because he had just won such a tournament. The judge announced the results of everyone, and now the moment has come to announce the winner. Kim Yun became the winner. Wang Swan got angry. The guy did not understand why he did not become the winner. The man started yelling at the judge with the reason that they forgot how to count, and also what the hell was the winner in the end, Kim Yun. The prince only had 270 demonic crystals and Wang Swan had 806. In fact, he should have won. Even though the villain has more demonic crystals, Kim Yun turned out to have a master demon crystal. Wang Swan Kun was at a loss as to where the boy got the demon master crystal was on his mind. The spiritual demon crystal shone and stood out from everyone. It was quite huge. It turned out that according to the rules, the crystal of the demon master is equal to 1,000 ordinary crystals, and therefore Kim Yun won. How is that possible? Kim Yun is only at the 4th level of the martial realm. How can he defeat a spirit demon? We said. The judge got angry in response to the guy. He said that the academy never discriminated against those who have little strength. Despite the referee's answer, Wang Swan was still angry. The villain argued and reported that Kim Yun was cheating since spirit demons have the power of martial realm. How can a weak prince in the 4th level of martial realm be able to defeat such a demon? The guy was still trying to piss off Wang Swan. He thanked him for the villain helping him in the spiritual circle. And he, in turn, did not understand him. Our villain asked himself. Kim Yun told everyone that he was now at the 6th level of the martial realm and was able to improve a lot. This was the last straw of Wang Swan Kun's patience. He decided to fight the prince again. Due to aggression and thirst, the guy had spiritual energy itself. He wanted to break everything to smithereens. However, the enemy stopped when he heard his father's voice. The father ordered him to stop right now and not to do those actions that Wang Swan wanted. He began to say that the guys are both strong in their own way. He had heard about Kim Yun a long time ago and was not disappointed by him. I'm Wei Yan. Congratulations to brother Kim Yun for winning the Heavenly Lion Fighting Tournament. I'm hosting a dinner party at my home tonight. Brother Kim Yun, please come. Father said. Yang, instead of the guy, answered that her student would definitely come to the invitation, and the father, after these words, left with his son. The prince understood that this was a trap, and it was definitely not worth going there, but Yang informed him that Master Wei was more cunning than anyone else. We must go to him now or he will follow us later. And also, if it is dangerous there, then together they will certainly be able to escape. The guy, having heard the words, felt shy of her because until that moment no one had protected him. The judge approached and congratulated Kim Yun on his victory. He handed him a pass to the source of the Heavenly Lion. And he also explained to him about the source of the Heavenly Lion. This source is intended for hardening the body. You can also take any one person with you. And you can enter the source only 3 times using the pass. It must be used wisely and carefully. Kim Yun decided that he would go alone for the time being because he wanted to see everything himself, but the master also wanted to go with him. Having decided nothing, they ran to the source so as not to waste time. Master and Kim Yun came to the spring to temper their body. The prince, of course, wanted to come here alone. Master Yang also wanted to be with him. Yana really liked being at the source, which made her speak loudly. Kim Yun was ashamed of her because they were not alone. Yang confessed why she felt so good. She had not been to the source of the Heavenly Lion for a long time. Now, after the improvement of her technique, they will increase her power and her strength will be better than before. However, all this seemed strange to the boy because according to the rules, men and girls should be tempered separately, and the master with him. Don't be shy, have your teacher help you wash your back, she said with a smile. The boy was about to leave when suddenly the master grabbed him by the back and washed his back. The guy began to warm up his body. He became much stronger and his channels were now clean. The couple has already finished tempering and now they are going to leave, or rather to visit Master Wei. A couple of hours passed. It was already night outside. The master and the prince came to visit Master Wei. The man had been waiting for them for a long time. He was eager to meet them. Master Wei asked them to sit down at the table because everything was ready and the food too. Since the guests arrived, the man decided to start a dinner party, and there were other guests at the table. One of them is the great general of the Yan country. And the prince already knew who he really was. This old man Yan Zhongming was one of those who extracted his meridians. The guy was angry with him but pretended that everything was fine. Qin Yun praised Master Wei as the boy was a genius among the new students considering how he defeated his son. And the man also thanked him for coming to the dinner party and not rejecting the request. Qin Yun also stood up and said that this was not only his achievement, but the achievement of the entire academy. All of a sudden, the general began acting strangely. Yan was misleading Master Wei. Old Wei, you didn't know that this child was misled by a female demonic master. Even though we extracted his 4 meridians, he still cultivated demonic techniques. It's just little demon. He is not worthy of your praise, General Yan said. Seeing this situation, the son of Master Wei also stood up. He began to say that all the statements of the general are true. If Qin Yun did not practice demonic techniques, then how could he defeat the spiritual demon and get the demon master crystal? The teacher realized that the noise was starting. She also began to express her opinion about what was happening. Qin Yun is her student. He didn't train any demonic techniques. The solar techniques that he learned were all according to the rules, and he studied with his teacher. The son also became angry at the words of Master Yang. Qin Yun confessed how he defeated the demon. The boy simply learned to use talismans and also create them. They brought him a lot of benefits. The man began to laugh after listening to all the excuses of the boy. He did not believe at all that he could create talismans. Since the first condition for a talisman is to be a master inscription, and it takes more than a few years to become one. It was very hard for Master Wei to believe that the prince could create talismans. The general suggested the idea to test Qin Yun for honesty. It would be possible for the boy to compete with other masters in creating talismans. If he can create at least one, then this will prove his innocence in everything that happens. Master Wei also agreed. The proposal was pretty good, and oddly enough, Qin Yun also agreed. The teacher started yelling at him because she knew that he was not a professional at this. But the prince asked her not to worry because everything will be fine. He was just sure of it. Master Wei decided that his son would go to the first duel against Qin Yun in order to resolve all his issues. And so they came to the battlefield. The guys had the task of making talismans as good as possible, as well as being a professional in their field. The father asked his son to restrain himself because today Qin Yun made friends with him and everything should happen as a normal constellation. And as we can see, Master Yang did not want a special friendship. She shouted to the student to defeat him. Master Wei was not much embarrassed by her act. The guys were ready. The man decided to announce the rules of the creation. You must both use red sand and yellow paper to make your talismans. You must make talismans of wind, lightning, water, and flame and use them to attack the opponent. If the participants have 2 victories and 2 defeats, then there will be a draw. If the participant did not have time to dodge and received a blow from the opponent's talisman, then the one who received damage lost. But if there was no damage to anyone, then the one who made the talisman faster won. After these words of the father, the conspiracy began. The guys began to make their talismans, and Wei Xuan finished his talisman very quickly. Suddenly, he threw it at Qin Yun, and it turned out to be a lightning strike. The prince was shocked by his speed. Thunder flew to him, and the boy dodged. The general began to smile because his words became facts. He declared that Qin Yun was a dummy, and if he did not use demonic powers, he would lose. The guy became worried. He understood that Wei Xuan Kung was faster than him, and he needed to find a way to win. The second round began. In this round, it was necessary to make a wind talisman. Unfortunately, Qin Yun did not know how to make a wind talisman at all. If it continued like this, he would most likely lose. Wei Xuan quickly made a talisman, threw it at the prince with a sharp movement. The boy was not at a loss. He also threw a talisman, and it turned out that the boy was able to create it. However, because Wei Xuan was faster, he won. The third round came. In this fight, the opponents had to create a talisman of flame. The prince felt uneasy. The boy understood that he would not win this round, but he hoped that the knowledge of the great master would help him. Suddenly, the prince remembered that he could channel a little bit of his fighting spirit into the talisman, and his strength would be increased based on the strength of the spirit. Wei Xuan has already created the flame and proudly threw the talisman at it, but it's not as easy as it seems. Qin also created his talisman and sent it to the enemy. The flame was too small. The son of Master Wei was sure that he would win because the fire was small. But in fact, the prince had a talisman with his fighting spirit, so he was able to block the fire. Suddenly, the flame turned around and flew towards Wei Xuan. The guy fell a few meters back and he was very ill. The guy was all wounded. Master Yang was pleased with her student, but Master Wei certainly wasn't. He called him names and was very angry. The general was also shocked by the prince's act. How he became so strong in a short time was not clear to anyone. The teacher demanded that the men apologize because Kim Yun did not use any demonic powers and won everything himself thanks to the talisman. She insisted that Master Wei apologize, otherwise she would expel Wei Xuan forever from the martial arts academy. They apologized and even presented a bunch of coins to the prince. When he saw a large chest with coins, the boy was shocked. Master Yang told the boy that there were about 10,000 coins. This is compensation from the general. There is enough to buy a lot of teaching materials. Qin thanked the teacher. He did not expect so much reward for his skills. The girl asked him not to thank him because the boy deserves more. Also, the woman ordered him to cultivate more from the next day. Also, don't go out alone. Grandmaster Wei and General Yang might do something bad to you. You should only train in my presence, Yang said. And here is the dwelling of Kim Yun's mother. The servant came to tell her that Kim Yun knows how to make talismans and practices powerful techniques. Even Wei Xuan Kong himself was injured by him. The queen was of course against him. She believed that the prince had made a mess, although everything was different. She also said, but we don't have to worry about him. We just have to wait until my father breaks into the realm of the martial way. Then the whole empire will be ours, and then we will deal with Kim Yun. The most important thing is now, and this is to ensure the marriage of the prince and Xiao Yu Lan. At the same time Kim Yun was training, he took a lot of spiritual potions, which made him feel much stronger than before. Suddenly, Master Yang entered his room and announced that the head of the Temple of Inscriptions had come. He would like to see the prince. The teacher was happy for him, because the head of the temple does not come just like that. In front of us is the same head. Qin Yun greeted the man and asked what they wanted from him. You defeated Wei Xuan Kong at such a young age. This is a significant feat. Who taught you this? The man asked. Qin answered him that his teacher taught everything, inscription, and so on. It turns out that the head came to give the guy the title of a beginner inscription master. It was a novice inscription badge that can be used to enter the inscription temple and sell a spiritual talisman, as well as get some secret information. The prince was so surprised by this proposal that he was already confused. He said that he was a student of the martial arts academy, and because of this, he could not enter the temple of inscriptions. However, the head told him that everything is fine. You can join not officially, but just come because the man will train himself. Qin Yun promised the teacher that he would come almost every day. Master Yang saw the prince's badge. She immediately realized that it was the badge of a novice inscription master. She was glad that the boy could receive such a gift. Now you cannot be afraid of the great Master Wei and General Yan, because they will not dare to offend the Temple of Inscriptions, but I also need to leave to complete the task, and you go to the Inscription Temple to cultivate and become stronger, the teacher said. The guy asked her a question about the Temple of the Inscriptions. He was really that strong, he asked. The Empress, after all, tried to go against them. According to Yang, the Inscription Temple watches over each inscription master and is said to have been in existence for 10,000 years. Temples also exist in other countries and regions. They are not even afraid of the power of the empire because of their mysterious power. If Qin Yun achieves something in the temple, he will be able to take revenge on the Empress. The next day, Qin Yun was walking somewhere. He felt that someone was next to him and shouted for them to come out. They were some unfamiliar men. One of them was the same Yang Zhongming. Suddenly, Qin Yun, without expecting anything, threw a large bell on his head and he got stuck in it. With this contraption, men can grab with ease, just like taking candy from someone. The prince was very worried. He understood that he had just been deceived very badly, and unfortunately, he could not get out of this place. Not only can this spiritual bell lure anyone into a trap, but it is also possible to get hurt very badly there. A bald man came up with a large tool with which you can hit the bell. He began to hit this thing with all of his strength, and suddenly he fell to the floor. It turns out that the same guy who interfered with Kim Yun is now helping him. The guy was always on the side of the truth. He did not like the fact that a person was attacked secretly. They also used spiritual treasures, for example, a bell. Jiang Lang, why are you here? Are you helping the prince? The man said fearfully. It turns out that these guys work for the Empress. He threatened that there would be consequences because he would tell everything to the queen. However, Jiang Lang began to threaten them. The men, having hurt him, began to run away since life was more important to them, but it was already too late. Jiang extended his hand and raised magic, after which one of the men flew back. The man apologized and begged for mercy. Jiang Lang, we shouldn't quarrel with each other. I don't know why you are helping Qin Yun, but do you know the reward for him? 100,000 coins and many more from the Empress. We can share the reward and get the favor of the Empress. Isn't it great? After saying those words, he was suddenly hit in the face by Kim Yun. The boy punched the bell with his powerful fist and sent the man flying several meters away. You wanted to catch me. Such a low-level dummy. Your old man is too stingy if he didn't give you something stronger," the prince said in an angry tone. Jiang Lang was delighted with the strength of the guy. He called him strong and the coolest. The prince also asked him why he came here, to which Jiang replied that the academy recently recommended me to the Temple of Inscriptions, so it was all probably by chance, or rather their meeting. Qin Yun was strange because not many days ago he was in battle with him and now he helped him. At such a thought, the guy explained to him that he did not like these men, so it so happened that he helped Qin Yun. And the guy also injured the man again. Qin Yun asked him why he was doing this. It turns out he did it so that no one would know about this situation. If the man were fine, he would run from minute to minute and tell everything to the Empress. But when his eyes are frightened, he will not say anything. And it is possible that the accused will be the prince himself. Besides, people like Qin would attract a lot of people, since Qin Yun had already become famous in the area. The blue-eyed boy asked that he not touch anyone or Qin would not be friendly as he is now. He agreed and they left. Qin Yun's fiancée walked around the area. She saw the wounded guys. The girl realized that it was all done by Qin Yun, because he had just been here. Jiang Lang was not very enthusiastic about Qin Yun's act because he was essentially unable to create talismans normally. It seems that Master Yang didn't tell him that the Blue Star Palace had recently descended into our world and only people from the Inscription Temple were allowed to enter there. Every disciple in every country goes to their own Inscription Temple, even the so-called best of the Qin Zheng Feng Heavenly Country. He is much older than Qin Yun, but he is already at the 7th level of body tempering. Such people cannot leave. And here they arrive at the Temple of Inscriptions. Near the entrance it was empty, which seems strange. It seems that the battle meeting of the Sleeping Dragon will not be soon. And in order to join this meeting, the prince will need to be in a team. This team must consist of 3 people. The first 3 teams will be able to go to the blue area. And there were only 2 of them. There was another place. Jiang Lang thought that they would pick up any random one because there was no choice. And by the way, for starters, you will need to register, and the guys went to do it the very first. The bride again came for him. She seemed to be following the prince. The girl thought about the fact that Qin Yun most likely practices demonic techniques and decided to check it all. Registration was in progress. The worker asked them if they wanted to join the Sleeping Dragon Battle Gathering. However, the man later informed them that they could not join as there were only 2 people in their team. The rule required a team of 3 or 5. Jiang Lang thought again. He did not know what to do at all. Suddenly, the bride comes up from behind and offers to join their team, as the guys are missing 1 member. Qin Yun was shocked by her arrival. He did not even expect to see the bride right here. For him, it was a fairy tale. However, the guy pretended not to know her. Supposedly, she was wearing a mask for this. Jiang Lang agreed that they would be together, because the girl was at the 7th level of body hardening. The prince was shocked that a girl at such an early age is already at a high level. The guys have already made the final decision that they will take her, but if the girl decides to do something bad, she will immediately fly out of the group. Now finally they will be able to register. They approached the worker, who in turn was surprised that so quickly. He presented them with 3 seals with which it would be possible to enter the fighting meeting of the Sleeping Dragon. Qin Yun was interested in the girl, and she took it and left because she didn't want to know a lot about her, because she was essentially the prince's bride. Jiang Lang asked the guy not to think about her because they would soon have a meeting. The guy, by the way, did not know where they would stay all these days spent here. Jiang explained to him that the badge that was given by the head can be used in good measures, or rather provide them with housing and 3 meals a day for every day. The prince was shocked that it was possible, after all he didn't know before. Here is their home. Everything was luxurious and beautiful, as if for kings. And the guy also told the prince that with this badge you can do a lot more. He is capable of much more. Qin Yun asked him where he would live, to which Jiang Lang replied that he would be with him because the hotel is very expensive and he is just as a student.